to get onto that back line or potentially save as we see the false dead ban.
Yeah, already with one global, possible two with the ETC, ENDEMIC are trying to make sure that when they show up for a fight, that No Tomorrow have to fight them. And not allowing Gust, not allowing for things like just the split push and then disengage is going to be nice for them, especially since the Sonya is already shown. Tahaka isn't a concern now, so it's a lot more about that false dead. I wanted to ask you, you've been a Tomster fan as long as I've known you. How pumped are you to see him back on his old role?
I've been watching. I've been, you know, sitting in scrims watching and trying to see things. I feel that one of the things that was both good and bad for Tomster was when he was alongside the other rosters, when it was Naventic and those teams, they were hyper aggressive. And it kind of changes your mindset and mentality on the game to where that becomes the norm. And he was on those teams for so long that became the norm. Even when he was on support for this roster earlier, Equinox had very much the same mindset. And he would aggressively make plays on supports that sometimes were unwarranted. And I think now he's still on a roll to where he has an opportunity, and I think there's times where he still has to learn to dial it back a little bit. I think that's going to take a little bit of time for him to kind of learn and temper that aggression.
Well, when I think of B-Kid, I think of Muradin. Muradin is still up. So is Garrosh if they want the double displace. And that would be a ton of control. But B-Kid is an old Muradin main.
There's a lot of tanks that were probably old Muradin mains. Rip Unstoppable E.
And stuns on Avatar.
Yeah. So Hanzo picked up, Johanna's going to be there. I think Johanna's the safe pickup because if you don't go stage dive and you have Mosh Pit, yes, the Dragon's Arrow does have a stun. Generally, you want that to be more of a playmaker and less of a defensive option. Johanna does have Iron Skin and can pop that Condemn. If you see ETC going in, the stun doesn't cancel Condemn, and that's generally the best way to do that. So Johanna gives that frontline control. You don't have to be the ultimate playmaker because you have a Blaze and a Maiev. And allowing Hanzo to play off that, I think, is very good for ENDEMIC to start this draft.
Were you surprised by the Tyrael ban? Because for me, I see having Blaze Maiev, and I would think that Stukov would be the ban. We saw it a lot at Midseason Brawl, and the lurking arm with Warden's Cage is terrifying, but instead we see Tyrael here.
Yeah, you know, the Tyrael was one of those things earlier in the year. I think it might have even been probably the last we really saw it was at Western Clash. When you have a bunker and a sanctification,
sure,
it's pretty strong. But the Stukov, as you said, one of them is more defensive, one of them is more offensive.
Right.
And it's like, what are you willing to deal with? And it seems like they might be willing to deal with seeing if Michael Udall can make those plays.
Thrall but a Leeming. Often see the Thrall Phoenix match because Earthquake is probably the best as far as setting up for a Purification Salvo. But Earthquake is also really good for trying to keep people in a spot so that you can start to get those resets.
Yeah, you know, Phoenix does have that capability in case he does get it in the Warden's Cage, can warp out, doesn't have the same type of mechanics of passing through, it just warps over the wall. Li Ming can avoid the tethers potentially by blinking away before that ever becomes a thing. Thrall is one of those heroes that, Thrall and Sonya, you're in melee and you get tethered in there, you're probably like, okay, let's go. So for a Thrall and a Sonya, they very much welcome that forward aggression that comes out from a Maiev. So two heroes that can stand in the pocket and basically throw punches back is definitely going to work for them. But the biggest question somehow comes to the last pick, Gilly. Michael Udall, what you playing?
Is it Stukov? It's Deckard Cain. Okay. Deckard with Maiev, who we did see that it's going to be Biggie playing. Deckard with Maiev is interesting, but it's better to be with the Maiev than against it.
Yeah.
Because she says where the fights are going to be. But with the Thrall too, and ETC with a ton of control, I don't know that Biggie will always get the first choice in that, but what I really love about this first draft is that with the Blaze Maiev, ENDEMIC said, we want to be aggressive, and No Tomorrow was like, we do.
Okay.
Let's do it. Like, this is cool.
Yeah, I like the draft. I mean, Thrall was kind of that NA special that ended up making its way to mid-season. We brought a little bit of our own meta there, and people are like, wait a minute, Thrall actually does function very well into that third melee. Now that we've seen the draft play out, the question does come up because Cure, when he was with Octalysis, was the Maiev player, obviously switching over to that melee role. I was kind of curious how they would build around that. We've still got to find out, but it seems like maybe it's Dansky. Maybe Biggie has generally been a carry role. Dansky's been a bit more flexible in his time. So we'll find out here soon. That's, to me, having this flexibility on this team of ENDEMIC is something I think a lot of other teams are going to be missing.
I cheated. I looked. It's
I
Biggie.
can see you looking over there.
Yeah. Which would be my guess. Biggie has been a excellent Tracer player and Genji player too, so I think that tends to fit in with him really well, and then allows Dansky to be that person in the back who just continually drops people down. And here he is, Dansky, as we introduce ENDEMIC. He'll be playing the Hanzo. Kier is on Blaze. Big impact. We'll be dropping the cages with that Warden Maiev. Michael Udall flexing over to the support in his first game is Deckard Cain, and finally B-Kid back on the tank playing Johanna.
For No Tomorrow, they're going to be over here on the right side in red. Casanova, one of my most standout players from Phase 1. He'll be on the Thrall. Tomster, of course, switching over to his melee role. He's going to be on the Sonya. Jay Shrite, of course, still trying to carry his weight there on the Li Ming. Jen on the ETC and Akaface. As we mentioned, Gilly, the new face here, trying to lead the team. He's going to be on support, again, on the Malfurion.
I think it's really amazing that No Tomorrow held their position with Jin, because he came in to replace Jason, and he was off of an open division team, but now he's held his spot. And for those of you who didn't watch that Crucible match, it was grueling for No Tomorrow. They were down 3-1 at one point and won 3 games in a row to hold this spot. So now Jen knows that he's got that deserving spot, and that has to be a load off of his mind to let him get in here and power slide after the Bolt of the Wardens.
Yeah, you know, you speak of Jin. I talked to multiple people from multiple teams, and I was asking, you know, what are your thoughts on Jin? Did he deserve his spot? Obviously, not making that change. I did not hear a single negative comment. I mean, obviously, there are some things of, oh, he could learn on this. But everybody threw praise at Jin and his ability to come in. And, you know, getting used to the pacing, I think, was generally the #1 thing, because the pacing of like pro play, very different than open. And there was nothing but praise for him, so definitely deserved a spot. No Tomorrow, they're gonna roll the dice with him.
No Tomorrow has a laning setup. I was wondering when they were gonna put Thrall in lane, because he needs to be stacking up Echo of the Elements, no Crash Lightning this game. He's gonna have the Giants with him too, so they're gonna wanna protect him so that he doesn't come under fire as he tries to clear these out and get some sieging done. So the rest is still here as they pushed out the mid wave, and now ENDEMIC getting their Giants. We'll see if they can push this back.
Well, just like we saw in our earlier series, where does the priority in that top lane come in because of the changes to the XP? How much value do you put in that? And then how much do you emphasize that top temple, which is generally where you double up on that? We can see on the minimap, ENDEMIC does have a couple of members up there, but they're holding on that cap, waiting to see how much value they get out of the bottom lane before they rotate up and potentially push in here in the early game.
They hold the cap, and love seeing that. No Tomorrow hasn't even started yet, and what we saw in the last series was the team who started later. It was Team Freedom. They were able to defend underneath their towers and then have that pushing during the temple phase. We're just short of the notification with 30 seconds out of the temple phase, and No Tomorrow starting to work on their bruisers. They're transitioning up so that they can get the same kind of defense, and we'll see how that works out for them.
They definitely need it. I think they wish they would have cleared this maybe about 5 seconds sooner. Yeah, they're a little bit slow on the rotation, but you can credit ENDEMIC for causing that chaos, and now they're losing not just 1 tower, but potentially 2 by the time this is all said and done. Casanova trying to turn that fight. There's going to be the tether in, but the power slide in by Jin, not able to get the follow-up just yet. But so far, ENDEMIC winning on this trade. Biggie actually getting quite a bit of value there on the Maiev, but it's temple time.
And remember, No Tomorrow chose to draft this very heavy melee composition into the Maiev. We saw one example of what the Emerald Bind into a Scroll of Sealing could do. It may even get worse later on if we see what has been consistent with what we saw in the last series, which is Emerald, the heal reduction too. But both of those heroes, Sonya and Thrall, though melee assassins, I guess technically a warrior for Sonya, do have their own self-sustain. It's just whether or not that Emerald can get maximum amounts of damage done when ENDEMIC choose to engage. You
can see teams now, Gilly, as we've now seen this a couple times. Again, some of the XP has been taken away from the fort towers and then distributed, but hold on a second, Akaface, be surprised. Actually, he's going to hold on there. B-Kid unable to help confirm the kill. Nice Moonfire, keeping him alive a little bit longer. Akaface very cautious with his positioning because the eye is about to be taken by Maiev. We'll see if Biggie can make the play. You can see him lurking in the bush. See if he tries to get on that back line, Gilly.
Akaface is incredibly low. That would be prime target. Fan of Knives, instant engage along with the jet propulsion too, and that gives the resets for the Fan of Knives, but it's Johanna that's blown up to give first blood, and the rest of these shots to No Tomorrow.
Jay Shrite waited for an opportunity. If you're a ranged mage player, the #1 thing you can do is wait for any bit of CC, and that is free skill shots. So that working out well for them. You know, one thing that Maiev does do against melee is you get that reset on that Fan of Knives. Is super terrifying. So if you're gonna make plays happen, that's one way to do it. No Tomorrow fighting fire with fire. The fact that they come out with first blood, a little bit surprising, but again, that top fort that was taken down, some of that experience obviously going over to that fort gives a little bit of an advantage over to ENDEMIC.
Yeah, I think it's very important that Jay Shrita not be at all involved with the big fight that's going to go down between Maiev and all of the melee, the rest of the melee on the team, because as long as he's staying out and they can weather the storm with those high damage dealers and especially the self-healing that they have, then Jay Shrita should be able to find those resets they did there. That changes with Bunker though.
You're that friend that just stands on the side and like, you guys take care of the dirty work. I'm gonna be over here making the plays. There's gonna be Biggie coming in, offering the peel over to Cure. Roots are going to go down, stacking up. Doesn't do anything to cause much, but it does give another stack towards those vengeful roots for Akaface. But starting to even up this experience here is going to be that of No Tomorrow.
They are right on the edge of getting heroic abilities, as is ENDEMIC. Jen starting the rotation. Dansky seems to be the target here.
Oh, Michael Udall. I mean, this is
Deckard Cain.
Deckard Cain can live for a while if the skill shots don't land. Hold on a second, as we've got Biggie. There's a reset. He's getting the Fan of Knives of his dreams. B-Kid looks like they might be able to trade out here, but level 10 picked up. Dragon Arrow not enough to save it, but Deckard Cain seems to sometime have 9 lives. Unfortunately, only live for so long. But Michael Udall, super aggressive in his positioning, Gilly. He's not on that old roll anymore.
Yeah, that's what we've been trending toward this whole series, is people being out maybe further than they should be on their new roles. But that's bound to happen. It's called growing pains for a reason. Heroics here, and we've got a stage dive from No Tomorrow's ETC. No mosh pit through the earthquake.
Just way too many interrupts when you consider the Johanna already.
Oh,
nice
excellent.
face smell.
Oh, man. Ginseng, what's up to Cure? Cure even used Pyromania there.
Yeah, it doesn't get much cleaner than that. The fact that he hit both sides of that, pretty impressive. A B-Kid holding point because he's on the Johanna, does have that Iron Skin if needed. Tomster, he's going to get onto the points, try and fight. The knockback there by the Anubis on point, while the fight kind of split right now. See who's willing to commit on which end. As you can see, Biggie's still looking for an opportunity, does have that mobility. Tomster gets tethered, gets pulled in the entire time. The battle rages here on this temple.
Iron Skin was used out of this. There's the roots and the earthquake too, but a bunker on the other side of that. Biggie's in danger. Teleports a Dragon's Arrow into the stay while and listen, and now a cage as the re-engage comes in for ENDEMIC.
Tomster looking to stay alive, but the stun's going to be there. The blessed shield goes out. Everybody's getting pulled this way and that. The root's going to be enough, and that's going to be enough to confirm the kill there onto Jen. Temple still has a little bit to channel, but ENDEMIC, this is what I love about the shot calling from ENDEMIC, Gilly. It's one thing that we see from Michael Udall on his stream and things like that. It's very snap calls, and the fact that they have everybody on the same page, instantly rotating over, this is what you want to see from a team that is looking to have championship aspirations. But that is not what you want to see.
No, that jet propulsion missed, and now this allows No Tomorrow to get into the backline stage dive, come back in. That was ETC who was killed. He has a globally staged dove back in. The boss is stolen by No Tomorrow, and ENDEMIC are on the retreat.
It always feels good when you're a commentator and you're heaping praise on a team, and then something like that happens. You're like,
it's called Caster's Curse.
Well, it's a curse that keeps on giving because the temple's still available. This temple now nets even more value because the boss taking down the fort. Temple shots will hit that mid fort, and things for No Tomorrow looking pretty good.
Yeah, double fort play from that, and an early boss too. But ENDEMIC biting off slightly more than they can chew. The call, you said it, was super fast and good. You want those kinds of calls. The problem was that ETC still had stage dive, and when he popped back up, the respawn timer is just slightly too much to deal with. Even with a Hanzo for the boss, you would think that that would be safe, but No Tomorrow steals that back, and it's great to see that No Tomorrow is being able to contest and have the same kind of aggressive shot calling even without Equinox.
With No Tomorrow, they do have the talent tier advantage. They're going to push forward here as we see another route followed up by another route. Vengeful routes starting to stack up. 8 stacks for Akaface. Been very timely, following up on quite a bit. Another tower goes down. No Tomorrow stretching their lead a little bit.
Yes, No Tomorrow brought all 5 up there, even ETC, maybe looking for a fight without the 12 that didn't dive underneath the fort. And that did give ENDEMIC a little bit of catch-up because they were willing to use Johanna, use Blaze just to try to soak and stay within the league where they can team fight with No Tomorrow. We're going to have a next temple phase. It'll be in the bot and the mid. And for No Tomorrow having that global, that has to be a constant consideration for ENDEMIC.
And that's an opportunity for No Tomorrow. Right now, they have a bit of a lead because of that boss and the structures that went down. So if they trade, I wouldn't be surprised. With No Tomorrow, I feel their nature is to not let it trade. They're still going to come out ahead, and that's the #1 thing. But when you have the global, sometimes you try and play around that. Get a little bit of one temple, force the rotation out, and then get the entire temple on the other side. So you generally have a net value that's positive instead of a trade. And I think we're going to find that as we do see ETC. The big part about ETC, I was going to say for him not to show too much. But now ENDEMIC knows exactly where ETC is. He could have stayed in that bush and maybe soaked a little bit more instead of showing. Now ENDEMIC's decision on where they can fight, including taking vision here, which gives you control of that middle temple, is a lot easier.
We'll see if the stage dive has to happen now, because with that Dragon's Arrow, and the Blessed Shield too, Tomster's in danger. Stay a while, Warden's Cage, everything, and Jin finds a problem again like we saw before, the constant control over his positioning. He makes it out this time, but Jin stage diving in, it feels like, is terrifying every time.
If you're on that ETC, it's nice to land the stage dive and hit people in zone, but with a stay a while and listen on the other side, I feel like you're going to have to stage dive a little bit further back, look for that Deckard priority target. Not only does it give you a different target to prioritize and keep you out of the stay a while and listen, but it also allows you to power slide to your side of safety as opposed to try and slide into the enemy team. So I feel Jin has to learn from that, and that's going to be a difficult thing to adapt to on the fly, especially with that missed opportunity right there.
The only thing is, if he power slides even further behind ENDEMIC, I'm scared of the cage, keeping him from getting back to his team. So it's an understandable concern not to want to full on engage off to that other side, but with the earthquake, maybe No Tomorrow can make something happen or keep more control over Big E.
No Tomorrow, this is a dangerous position. They don't have a fort to draw back to. 16 on the horizon. Dragon Arrow is going to come in, land on multiple members. Biggie has the perfect dive in. There's going to be one tether. Tomster running for his life. Nice zoning by Jin. He's going to stage dive out to safety. But the damage is done. Not only are they losing the temple, they lose a hero, and that top wave was still getting value. ENDEMIC starting to turn up the heat.
Want to see if we can see that fight again, and I think Jet Propulsion forced the Nature's Cure, which then you didn't have it with Dragon's Arrow. Malfurion is so good versus Hanzo because he can Nature's Cure people out of that Dragon's Arrow, but the timing of that from ENDEMIC was so good, so that it was they still had the max amount of lockdown from that on those melee heroes. And with this temple, the push now, getting those keep towers, experience from those were unaffected, JL.
Yeah, still mounting as we now look at a full level lead. ETC shown in the top lane, stage dive still on cooldown. I imagine when the boss comes up, if there is another opportunity, ENDEMIC might be a little bit more cautious than they were before. We'll see if they find that opportunity as they're going to rotate up and around. Right now, they can just kind of play, slow play, see where the next temples are, because right now, there's not a lot of information they have. They have to keep an eye on the boss, of course. It's not a desperation call. It's not a desperate moment.